Ambassador Zix Thul's 7 eyes blinked in rapid succession as he stared at the holographic display floating before the Galactic Council. The blue-skinned Vorthan's tentacles writhed with barely contained excitement as he gestured toward the rotating image of a small, insignificant blue-green planet. Esteemed members of the Council, Zix Thul's voice resonated through the crystalline chamber. His words translated instantly into the 1,000 languages of the assembled species. I present to you the solution to our energy crisis. This primitive world contains the largest deposits of quintessium ever discovered. Elder Kretarch, the ancient Zephyrian, whose species had been spacefaring when most others were still crawling in primordial ooze, leaned forward on his floating platform, his wrinkled bark-like skin creased with concern. Ambassador, that world is marked with the red seal. Have you forgotten the first law? A ripple of unease passed through the council chamber. The first law, inscribed in the sacred texts of every civilized species, was simple and absolute. DONOTMESSWITUHMANS. Zix Thul's tentacles fluttered dismissively. That ancient superstition. Elder, surely you don't believe those primitive tales. These humans are barely out of their technological infancy. They've only just achieved faster than light travel. Their weapons are crude, their ships fragile. What possible threat could they pose to our combined fleets? The first law exists for a reason, Kretarch warned, his voice heavy with millennia of wisdom. My ancestors witnessed. Your ancestors lived in an age of myth and legend, Zix Thul interrupted. I propose we take what we need. A simple mining operation. The humans will never even know we were there. The debate raged for hours. Species after species voiced their concerns, but Zix Thul's coalition had done their work well. Fear of the approaching energy crisis outweighed ancient warnings. By a narrow margin, the council voted to proceed. 3 months later, the Vorthan mining fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 50 massive dreadnoughts, accompanied by 1,000 support vessels, the largest armada ever assembled. They moved toward the asteroid belt, their sensors locked onto the richest quintessium deposits. Within hours, the primitive human ships appeared. Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Defiance watched the alien fleet through her bridge's main viewer. Her ship was 1/10 the size of the smallest enemy vessel, and she commanded only a dozen other ships. The odds were laughable. Captain, her tactical officer reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. They're not responding to our hails. Long-range scans show mining equipment. They're here for the asteroids. Chen's jaw tightened. Those asteroids weren't just rocks. They were humanity's first off-world colonies, home to millions of people. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. This is Captain Chen to all vessels. Remember what we are. Remember what we fight for. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The humans didn't retreat. They didn't negotiate. They didn't surrender. They attacked. The first human ship, the Indomitable, accelerated directly at the alien flagship. As weapons fire erupted around it, the ship's captain made a decision that defined his species. Unable to penetrate the alien shields with conventional weapons, he rammed his vessel directly into the dreadnought's bridge. But that was only the beginning. The remaining human ships scattered like a pack of wolves, using their superior maneuverability to dart between the lumbering alien vessels. When their weapons proved insufficient, they rammed. When their ships were destroyed, the crews ejected in escape pods, and those pods became weapons too. Zix Thul watched in horror from his command ship as the impossible unfolded. These humans were insane. They threw themselves at his forces with a ferocity that defied all logic. They were outgunned, outnumbered, outclassed in every way, and they were winning. "Sir," his tactical officer shrieked. The humans, they're not following any known combat doctrine. They're dying to kill us. One human fighter pilot, her ship's weapons disabled and engines failing, guided her craft on a collision course with a Vorthang cruiser. As she flew her dying ship into the alien vessel's reactor core, her final transmission echoed across all frequencies. "You picked the wrong species to mess with." The explosion took out 3 more ships in the chain reaction. Within 6 hours, half of Zixthal's fleet was destroyed or disabled. The humans had lost every ship, but their message was clear. More human vessels were already arriving from across the system, and these weren't military ships, they were civilian transports, cargo haulers, even pleasure craft, all crammed with volunteers, ready to die for their species. As the fury of terror decloaked behind his flagship, a massive human dreadnought that had somehow approached undetected Zixthal finally understood the first law. "This is Admiral Harrison of the Terran Defense Force," came the cold voice over the comm. "You have exactly 60 seconds to begin your withdrawal, or we will show you why the galaxy fears us." Zixthal looked at his remaining forces, then at the growing swarm of human ships converging on his position. Each one flew with reckless abandon, their crews apparently eager to die if it meant taking aliens with them. "Retreat," he whispered. Then, louder, full retreat. "All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace." As the battered alien fleet fled, Elder Kretak's words echoed in Zixthal's mind. The first law wasn't just a rule, it was a warning carved in the bones of every species that had ever encountered humanity. Humans didn't just fight wars. They didn't just defend territory. When threatened, they became something primal and terrifying, a species that would burn down the galaxy before accepting defeat. The Quintessium remained untouched. The asteroids continued their ancient orbits. And throughout the galaxy, the first law was reinforced with new urgency. DONOTEMESSWITHU Because some species fight for territory. Some fight for resources. Some fight for glory. But humans? Humans fight for each other. And that makes all the difference.